Hey, it's your guy Tyrrell back with the interviews. In today's video, we're going to briefly analyze Thomas Partey's positive impact to Arsenal's build-up play and their 0-0 draw against Man United. So when we break down the game and we do look at the board, we have both sides in a 4-2-3-1, and today we're specifically going to focus on how Thomas Partey's inclusion in Arsenal's starting 11 improves their overall build-up play. What we ended up seeing was that United would drop off into two banks of four. And when you look at that overall base shape, you should have Cavani and Bruno Fernandes stepping out to the Arsenal center backs, Pogba and Rashford closing down the fullbacks, and then you have a 3v2 in that midfield zone with Fred and McTominay protecting the back four. One of the key factors to United playing this 4-2-3-1 was Fred sitting on Smith Rowe. As we've seen in previous weeks, Smith Rowe has been able to drop off into wide areas to receive the ball freely as midfield markers weren't picking up his runs. But here, if United maintain this pressing scheme, then you have Bruno Fernandes sitting on Xhaka and then McTominay closing down the spare Arsenal midfielder, just so Fred can monitor the movement of the Arsenal youngster. Now, to overcome that 3v2 issue in midfield, United had Bruno Fernandes stepping into the path of the deepest Arsenal midfielder, Fred occupying Smith Rowe, and McTominay would take the spare man in that central zone. While that did work in the earlier stages, United had several issues with Arsenal's build-up play, and they were able to easily bypass United's shape. An easier alternative for United would be to have Cavani and Bruno Fernandes blocking off the passing lane into Thomas and Xhaka, and then have Fred and McTominay stepping forward to close down those midfielders with Lindelof or Maguire stepping into the path of Smith Rowe. Another alternative for United would be, for instance, to have Cavani stepping towards holding, and then Bruno Fernandes sitting on the deepest Arsenal midfielder, and if the ball got shifted out to David Luiz, then have Bruno Fernandes stepping into his path and Cavani dropping off deeper to ensure that Arsenal couldn't play through that midfield zone. However, what ended up happening as that half continued was that Cavani and Bruno Fernandes would harry the Arsenal center backs, and then you would see Thomas Partey having ample time in that midfield zone to get on the ball and then bypass that United press. With McTominay often stepping towards Xhaka and Fred sitting on Smith Rowe, Pogba would be forced to tuck into that central area, and then that would allow Bellerin to push forward as Pepe dropped off deeper in search of the ball and dragging out Shaw. Ultimately, it was largely down Arsenal's right-hand side where they were able to get themselves into good positions, and it stemmed through Thomas Partey's penetrative passing, his ball-carrying skills, and Smith Rowe also played a minor part as well. They were able to find space beyond Shaw due to Bellerin's ability to push forward beyond Pogba, and luckily for United, Maguire's ability to shift across to provide cover was a key component, and the fact that at times Arsenal made the wrong decision and Thomas Partey himself was guilty of some sloppy passing. If we briefly focus on his ball carrying skills, we could see Pepe sliding the ball across Fred for Thomas, who holds off Cavani as he begins to carry the ball forward, and Thomas bypasses the Cavani pressure and carries the ball beyond Bruno Fernandes, Fred, and McTominay into Man United's half. Thomas has three options available when he approaches the United backline, with Martinelli breaking into left half space, Lacazette ahead of Wan-Bissaka and Lindelof, and Pepe breaking into the right channel. But although he makes the right decision here, he ends up dragging his effort wide of the net. Here we could see Smith Rowe receiving David Luiz's clearance beyond Pogba, with Fred and McTominay within close proximity ahead of the Arsenal penalty area. Smith Rowe carries the ball beyond Fred and McTominay into the halfway circle, where he locates Pepe running across Shaw into United's half, with Maguire instantly shifting across for cover. While Smith Rowe's pass should place Pepe in a 1v1 situation with Shaw, Maguire does well to provide cover for his left back as the Arsenal attacker breaks into right half space, but from this position, Pepe bends his effort inches wide of the far post. And if we look to a combination of ball carrying skills and passing, here we see Holding sliding the ball across Cavani for Smith Rowe, dropping between the Pogba and Fred gap to guide a first-time ball to Bellerin. When Smith Rowe receives the ball back from Bellerin, Bellerin, he instantly splits Pogba and Fred to play the ball into Pepe, dropping off Shaw, and he makes a run in between that Pogba and Fred gap. Pepe lays the ball off to Smith Rowe, who made a run between Pogba and Fred, and that's where you see Pepe peeling off the United left back, with Maguire shifting across to apply cover. Smith Rowe opts to carry the ball down the right channel, but Pepe fails to make the right run across Maguire, who did well to cover space for Shaw. And when Smith Rowe finally plays that ball into Pepe in the right channel, Maguire easily brushes the Arsenal attacker off the ball. And then if we focus on Thomas Partey's passing, you could vividly highlight the reoccurring issues with United's shape. Following Xhaka sliding the ball around Cavani for Thomas, you could see the Arsenal midfielder carrying the ball ahead of Pepe, dropping into the Fred and Pogba gap, while Bellerin begins to make a run off the ball watching Shaw, and Smith Rowe drifts laterally from the right touchline into space between the lines. Thomas ignores Bellerin's run across Shaw into right half space and slides the ball across Fred for Smith Rowe checking into the ball, and that's where you see Pepe running off Fred and Pogba. When Smith Rowe receives the ball, he instantly drops it off to Pepe, which places him in a 1v1 with Shaw that results in a shot into side netting due to Maguire shifting across for cover. Shortly after that, you see Holding sliding the ball across Cavani for Thomas ahead of Pogba and Fred, with Pepe dropping into United's midfield in search of possession. Thomas splits Pogba and Fred to play the ball into Pepe's feet as he drops off Shaw, and because Pogba's caught out of position, that leaves an outlet for Bellerin unmarked on the right touchline. Pepe ends up sliding the ball across Shaw to Bellerin, which pulls the United left back to the ball, and that's where you see Pepe running off Pogba into vacant space down the right channel as Maguire begins to shift over. From here, you could see Pepe receiving Bellerin's pass beyond Shaw, which should place him in a 1v1 with Maguire shifting over for cover, but his insistence to get the ball onto his left foot enables Shaw to recover and concede a foul in United's third. So as you can see, in that opening half, Arsenal found several routes beyond that United disjointed press. So when you question how United were able to improve in the second half, it was largely down to Arsenal's decision to have Xhaka forming a back three to push Cedric higher up the pitch. Because what you would end up seeing was that Xhaka would drop into that inside left position, and now you would have Bruno Fernandes and Cavani dropping off in that 3v2 battle. What you ended up seeing was that Rashford could push higher up the pitch to close down Xhaka, Wan-Bissaka would push higher on Cedric, and then Lindelof would shift across to close down Willian. That leaves Pogba to step into the path of Smith Rowe, and then Fred could push higher up the pitch to close down Thomas Partey. If that wasn't the case, you would see Cavani and Bruno Fernandes drop off deeper. For example, there was a time where Bruno Fernandes stepped into the path of David Luiz, and when he shifted the ball out to Xhaka, Rashford was ready to push forward, and then you saw Cavani dropping off to monitor Thomas Partey's movement. And later on in that half, there was a time where you had Bruno Fernandes stepping into the path of Holding, and Fred pushed higher up the pitch towards the halfway line to close down Thomas Partey, with Cavani retreating from David Luiz to step towards the Arsenal midfielder. And as Cavani got closer towards Thomas Partey, that's when you saw Fred dropping off deeper to retreat to his position. And if we look to one final example, you could see United closing down Arsenal's right side, with Bruno Fernandes stepping into the path of Holding, Martial stepping higher on Bellerin, and then Fred pushing towards the Arsenal penalty area to close down Thomas Partey. And even at that point, you have Cavani leaving David Luiz and stepping into the path of Xhaka. But even though United improved their pressing in that second half, Thomas Partey still played a key role in some of Arsenal's best chances. There was a time where he bypassed Fred to play in Lacazette, dropping off Maguire. Meanwhile, you could see Pepe unmarked in space ahead of Shaw, Smith Rowe in a large gap of space between Pogba and Rashford, while Martial was ball watching as Bellerin pushed forward. But look at that United shape and look at how many gaps there are in that midfield zone, and Thomas Partey still being able to get time on the ball with Bruno Fernandes and Cavani not marking anyone. Lacazette ended up sliding the ball across Fred for Pepe to run at the United backline, as Shaw can't step forward to apply pressure due to Bellerin's advanced position. And when Bellerin receives the ball in the right channel, you could see Lacazette making a run between the center backs, while Smith Rowe darts between Wan-Bissaka and Lindelof to drag the United right back narrow, thus creating the gap for Willian to run into, and that all stemmed from Thomas Partey's initial pass. And then and arguably Arsenal's best chance stemmed from a transitional play following Bellerin dispossessing Bruno Fernandes, and you could see Xhaka squaring the ball to Thomas, and he plays a penetrative pass across Fred's pressure for the Arsenal right back in space between the lines. When Bellerin receives Thomas's pass, he slides it across Maguire to Pepe as Shaw attempts to recover his position, thus placing the Arsenal attacker in a 1v1 with the United center back, and from there you expect Pepe to test David De Gea when he receives the right back's pass, but Maguire's pressure is enough to force the Arsenal attacker to bend his effort inches wide of the far post.
Hi everybody, thanks for watching, and subscribe here for your latest tactical analysis and daily commentary on the InnerViews show. And if that wasn't enough, don't forget you could find more organic, unfiltered soccer/football analysis on the InnerViews podcast, the best soccer/football podcast in the world, available on iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Spreaker, and any Android apps on your Android devices.